ሆሊውድ በየዓመቱ ከሚያመርታቸው በሺዎች የሚቆጠሩ ፊልሞች መሃል አንዱ በተለይ ለጥቁሮች እጅግ ታሪካዊ ተብሎ ልዩ ቦታ የሚሰጠው ለመሆን በቅቷል። የዚህም ፊልም ዋና ገጸ ባህሪ የተጫወተው መሪ ተዋናይ ደግሞ በቅርቡ በካንሰር ህመም መሞቱ በርካቶችን ያሳዘነ ክስተት ሆኗል። ነገር ግን ከዚህ ፊልም ስኬት ጀርባ አንድ ሌላ እጅግ ተወዳጅ ተዋናይ መኖሩን ስንቶቻችን እናውቅ ይሆን? ሰላም የተወደዳችሁ የዛይን ቤተሰቦች፣ በዛሬዋ ቪዲዮአችን ሁለቱን ተወዳጅ የሆሊውድ ኮከቦች ድንገት ያስተሳሰረቻቸውን የህይወት ገጠመኝ እናጋራችኋለን። ቻድዊክ ቦዝማን ምንም ገንዘብ የሌለው የኮሌጅ ተማሪ ነበር። ታዲያ በአንዲት ኤንቨሎፕ ምክንያት ህይወቱ እስከ ወዲያኛው እንዴት ሊቀየር ቻለ?
I didn't know at first, when I came back, and I've basically been holding this secret my whole career.
ተወዳጁ ዴንዘል ዋሽንግተንስ ቻድዊክን ሲያገኘው ለምን አለቀሰ? ወጣቱ ቻድዊክ የመጀመሪያ የትወና ስራው በአንድ የቴሌቪዥን ድራማ ላይ ነበር። ነገር ግን የተሰጠው ገጸ ባህሪ የተለመደ የጥቁሮችን መጥፎ ገጽታ የሚያሳይ በመሆኑ አልተዋጠለትም ነበር። ይህን ቅሬታውን ፊት ለፊት በመናገሩ በማግስቱ ከመጀመሪያው ስራው ተባረረ።
Once I saw the role I was playing, I found myself conflicted. The role wasn't necessarily stereotypical. A young man in his formative years with a violent streak pulled into the allure of gang involvement. That's somebody's real story. Never judge the characters you play. That's what we were always taught. That's the first rule of acting. And any role played honestly can be empowering. But I was conflicted because this role seemed to be wrapped up in assumptions about us as black folk. It was just my luck that after filming the first 2 episodes, execs of the show called me into their offices and told me how happy they were with my performance. They wanted me to be around for a long time. They said, if there was anything that I needed, just let them know. That was my opening. I decided to ask them some simple questions about the background of my character, questions that I felt were pertinent to the plot. But I didn't want to assume that's what it was. If we're around here assuming that the black characters in the show are criminals on drugs and deadbeat parents, then that would probably be stereotypical, wouldn't it? I left the office. I shot the episode I had come in to shoot on that day. Probably the best one I did out of the 3 because I got what was bothering me off my chest. I was let go from that job on the next day. A phone call from my agent. They decided to go another way.
ይህም ቢሆን ግን ቻድዊክ በራሱ ላይ ያለው እምነት ንቅንቅ አላለም። ምክንያቱ ደግሞ አንድ የማያውቀው ሰው በሱ ላይ እምነት ስላሳደረ ነበር። ቻድዊክ የኮሌጅ ተማሪ ሳለ የትምህርት ክፍያውን መክፈል አቅቶ ሲቸገር አንድ ሰው ወደ ህይወቱ ብቅ በማለት የእርዳታ እጁን ይዘረጋለታል።
I didn't know at first, when I came back, and I've basically been holding this secret my whole career. When I came back, I got a beneficiary letter, and it said Denzel Washington paid for you, and I was like, what?
ከልጅነቱ ጀምሮ እንደ ጀግና በሚያየው ሰው ጭንቀቱ የቀለለለት ቻድዊክ ትልቅ ዱብዳ ነበር የሆነበት። ጀግናውን እንዴት ብሎ እንደሚያመሰግነው እንኳን ማሰብ አልተቻለውም። ነገር ግን በሱ ላይ ያሳደረበት እምነት ትክክል እንደሆነ ሊያረጋግጥለት ቆረጠ።
Early on in my career, I auditioned for a part in a Broadway musical. So I started, I'm going to sing. And I'm not saying anything, so I'm thinking I'm getting better. So I just start getting into it. I didn't get the job. But here's the thing. I didn't quit. I didn't fall back. I walked out of there to prepare for the next audition, and the next audition, and the next audition. I prayed. And I prayed. But I continued to fail, and fail. But it didn't matter because you know what? There's an old saying, you hang around the barbershop long enough, sooner or later you're going to get a haircut.
ቻድዊክ የብላክ ፓንተር ገጸ ባህሪ ለሱ እንደተሰጠው ሲያውቅ ከፍተኛ ድንጋጤ ነበር የወደቀበት። የብላክ ፓንተር ምርቃት ዕለት ከተመልካቾች መሃል ዴንዘል ዋሽንግተን እንደሚገኝ ተነገረው። በመጨረሻም ለዓመታት በውስጡ ይዞት የነበረው ምስጋናውን ለጀግናው ለማቅረብ እድሉን አገኘ። ከፊልሙ በኋላ ሲገናኙ ቻድዊክ ያኔ የትምህርት ቤት ክፍያዬን የከፈልክልኝ ልጅ ነኝ ይለዋል። ዴንዘልም ታዲያ ብሬ ልቀበልህ እኮ ነው የመጣሁት በማለት ባልጠበቀው ምላሽ ሳቅ በሳቅ አድርጎታል።
And just before the movie came out, we did the New York premiere. He came and I met him before the article came out. So I actually, lived up to what I originally wanted to do. It was amazing.
And what'd you say to him?
He was like, well, I haven't met you yet. And I said, yeah, I got to tell you something. You paid for me to go to school. He said, oh, so that's why I'm here. You owe me money.
በአንድ ወቅት ዴንዘል ሲናገር በፊልም የማለቅስ ሰው አይደለሁም ብሎ ነበር። ብላክ ፓንተር ግን የተለየ ነበር። በቻድዊክ ስኬት ውስጥ የራሱን ታሪክ የሚያስታውሰው ዴንዘል የሁለቱን ግንኙነት ሲገልጸው በዱላ ቅብብል ውድድር ውስጥ ሶስተኛው ሯጭ እንደሆንኩ ይሰማኛል ይላል። የራሱን ሩጫ ባያቆምም ዱላውን ግን ለቀጣዩ ትውልድ አስረክቧል። እጅግ ኢምንት በሆነች መንገድም ቢሆን በሕይወቱ ለውጥ መፍጠሩ ስሜታዊ ያደርገዋል።
Black Panther, I should have told you.
Yeah?
I was sitting in there. I ran into Chad and Ryan before the movie started. It was their premiere or their screening in New York. And just talking to them, and then went in the movie. And the 40 years I've been in this game came back to me. I said, man, look at these young boys, man. And I actually just started, I was like, whew. Sydney to now. And I'm in the gap, and me and many others are in the gap. But it was like, man, I felt like the third leg of the relay race. Like, yeah, go.
Yeah.
Now, I ran behind them. I'm still running. But I was like, man, they gone. They're gone.
በዴንዘል ቸርነት ልቡ የተነካው ቻድዊክም በተራው በተወለደባት ከተማ ለሚገኙና አቅማቸው ለማይፈቅድ 312 ታዳጊዎች የአንድ ሲኒማ ሙሉ ትኬት ገዝቶ ብላክ ፓንተርን እንዲያዩ በማድረግ ሰርፕራይዝ አድርጓቸዋል። ዴንዘል ዋሽንግተን የላይፍ ታይም አቺቭመንት አዋርድ አሸናፊ መሆኑን በሰማ ጊዜም ጀግና የሚለው ሰው እንዴት ሕይወቱን እንደቀየረለት ዓለም መስማት አለበት ብሎ ወሰነ። የትምህርት ቤት ክፍያችሁ በዓለም ምርጡ ተዋናይ እንደተከፈለላችሁ ሲነገራችሁ ምን ይሰማችኋል ሲል ታዳሚዎቹን ጠየቀ። ዴንዘል ዋሽንግተን ባይኖር ብላክ ፓንተር የሚባል ፊልም አይኖርም። እኔ ብቻ ሳልሆን የኔ ትውልድ በሙሉ በአንተ ትከሻ ላይ ነው የቆምነው በማለት ዴንዘል ዋሽንግተን አይኖቹን ባንዳዘሉ ከመቀመጫው ተነስቶ እንዲያጨበጭብ ያስገደደውን ንግግር አሰማ።
Imagine receiving a letter that your tuition for that summer was paid for and that your benefactor was none other than the dopest actor on the planet. I have no doubt that there are similar stories at boys and girls clubs and theaters and churches across the country where I know you have also inspired and motivated others. An offering from a sage and a king is more than silver and gold. It is a seed of hope, a bud of faith. There is no Black Panther without Denzel Washington. And not just because of me, but my whole cast, that generation stands on your shoulders. The daily battles won, the 1,000 territories gained, the many sacrifices you made for the culture on film sets through your career, the things you refused to compromise along the way, laid the blueprints for us to follow. And so now, let he who has watered be watered. Let he who has given be given too. It is an honor to now know you, to learn from you, and join in this work with you. May God bless you exceedingly and abundantly more in what's in store than he ever has before. God bless you.
ነገር ግን የዚህ ታሪክ አፈጻጸም በተለይ ለዴንዘል ዋሽንግተን እጅግ ልብ የሚሰብር ሆኗል። እኔ ሩጫዬን እያቀዘቀዝኩም ቢሆን ዱላውን አቀብየዋለሁ ያለው ቻድዊክ ገና በ43 ዓመቱ ራሱን ለሩጫው እያሟሟቀ ባለበት ዕድሜው ከዚህች ዓለም መለየቱ ተሰማ። እናም ውድ ቤተሰቦቻችን እንደሚጫወተው ስክሪፕት ብዙ ጀግኖችን ሆኖ ያዝናናን ዴንዘል በአንዲት ትንሽ ፖስታ ቀጣዩን ጀግና ያፈራበትን አጋጣሚ እንዲህ አጋራናችሁ። በቀጣዩ ቪዲዮ እስክንገናኝ ዛይን መልካሙን ሁሉ ተመኘላችሁ።